Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy channel. My name is Jed. I hope you're having a wonderful time. We are exploring Dionysius the Areopagite, the guy quoted over 1,000 times by Thomas Aquinas, Saint Thomas Aquinas, the dude who is the sort of the figurehead or the linchpin of the understanding of Christianity. So, it turns out that Dionysius was a philosopher, likely from the Academy, claiming to be present at the crucifixion of Jesus, claiming to be a follower or a friend of Paul, in order to give an interpretation of Christian beliefs that allows someone who happened to be raised in that tradition to have something in the Bible to look at, to reframe beliefs or projections of individual beliefs onto God. It's not me who's racist, it's God. It's not me who wants all the money and wants to be the ruler of the world. God wants me to do it. That kind of normal religious idea of God, which is a projection of people's individual pathologos beliefs, Dionysius gave in the Bible an understanding of that dynamic. It's folly to take stories of God literally, because the terrible characteristics we see described of God, jealous, lying, genocidal, that kind of crap, it would be absurd to think of the divine that way. But it is a symbolic representation of the cause of man's ignorance and folly. Yeah, I used folly twice, but you get the idea. That's what it is. But there's also a way of interpreting the symbols and stories and relationships. Again, not literal. You go from literal to relationships. You drop the literal, you drop the specifics, and you look at relationships. That's allegory or metaphor or analogy, and that's how you get a symbolic theology. That's true theology. So long as those relationships represent the true relationships of reality, of the divine's relationships with man, and vice versa. In other words, metaphysics. That's what metaphysics is. So, there is a way of interpreting Christian beliefs to transition from belief into understanding. And understanding is what we need to be rational. It's also what we need to solve problems, and it's also what we need for our own spiritual development. And last time we read Socrates pointing out any spiritual tradition. If you are mature in that tradition and you recognize there is something lacking or something that can be added to your tradition to provide what's necessary for meditation, to facilitate the experience of higher dimensions of reality, and what's needed to solve problems, you have a responsibility to add that to your tradition. Don't be a little baby and say, everything I learned before the age of 4, that's all I can learn. Now my job is to kill anyone who disagrees with me. That's how most humans act. Humans who haven't reflected on the nature of their family clan beliefs or pathologos. But Socrates points out, no, just add what you need. Just add what you need. Just do that. Right?
No, that was a good decision. That was an inherently good
decision to just add what you need.
A chimp kissed a fox once, I think. I do enjoy that.
Okay, and a chimp kissed a fox, apparently. So, that's Dionysius, providing an avenue for believers to become thinkers or understanders or philosophers. That's where we are. Let's jump in. Here we go. Let's catch up and do a quick review, bringing us up to where we are in the book. Dionysius the Areopagite was shows all descriptions of gods are metaphors. He was therefore a master of metaphors. He included within this metaphoric interpretation of the stories about God the key terms needed for our development: the level of reality of the one, or that which is without qualities or prior to predicates. That's a fun thing to say, prior to predicates. The unified, or mind, or oneness, or ousia, or the state of reality of being, the whole of all parts. And the third level are the cosmos, or what we have in our map. Which one? How about this one? The self, or the one, oneness or being, and the physical world of the cosmos, which is generated from the unified. So, thankfully, he included within the Bible those three elements that we need for understanding. Hooray for him.
You just blow in from Stupid Town.
And if you don't have it, you've just blown in from Stupid Town, right?
It makes sense.
I do. And also, reiterating, he also has left us in the Bible the same puzzle that's Plato left us. And that Dionysius, Plato, who began the first universities of the West, the Academy in Athens, student of Socrates, but didn't pick up midwifery and dream analysis. And that's one of the puzzles Plato left us. And the last teacher of the Academy, Dionysius, who was the teacher there before Fuckface McGee, Emperor Justinian of Christianity, killed all the philosophers, shut down the Academy, and instituted Christianity, which brought in the Dark Ages where everything was the worst. To him we say,
Oh my fuck.
okay, we say that. Don't we?
It's a total shit show.
It's a total shit show. And what was the puzzle both of them left us? Dreams. Dreams are essential, dreams are necessary, but both Plato, Dionysius, and in the Bible, Dionysius pointed to the significance of dreams, but had not seen how to bring them into the system of theology. Theology, of course, the metaphorical representation of metaphysics. Metaphysics is the study of reality, and the way we study reality is our understanding. The use of understanding, or the skill of understanding, is called the dialectic. So, our task left to us by Plato, Dionysius, Dionysius is find a dialectic of dream analysis. All right, so that's one of our puzzles. Now, as we continue, it's good to be aware of what it is we are doing. And Socrates says, hey, listen, would we say that we have come to save mankind? Given that this art of dialectic is the necessary next step in human evolution, it's the necessary skill that we are here to develop to learn and nurture within our soul as the meaning of life, necessary for us to have a good reincarnation and not a terrible one into a world where we suffer the implications of the injustices we did. But also, it's the skill that makes use of what makes us evolved, makes us different from cabbages and cows and caterpillars. We have self-reflection, ousia, and language or understanding, logos. So given that, the dialectic is the next stage of evolution and necessary for A, solving problems, and B, reaching our excellence, you could say that in sharing the dialectic with the world, by having a fun time, reading this fun book, and we do have a fun time, don't we?
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder?
We have childlike wonder and whimsy.
And I find that very entertaining.
And people find it very entertaining.
Do a poggers.
And we do a poggers. So we could say we've come to save mankind through our efforts and bring them to salvation. But there's a lot of loaded terms in that. We aren't doing it. We can create the conditions for others to play, because it's the hero's journey. It's literally the meaning of life.
You're a wizard, Harry.
And we're all wizards, Harrys. And salvation, of course, is a loaded term as well. What the fuck does that mean? Salvation. What, not go to hell? Well, kind of. If you think that a negative reincarnation onto planet Earth is hell, that's how it's represented in theology. So instead of saying that, which is very loaded, we could say what Socrates says: I have come prepared to accept whatever happens to me as I go on my way exploring ideas and seeking among my fellow men their way to justice and truth. So the way to justice and truth, probably a little bit better. So we explore ideas, we see and we share it with our fellow man, and we explore how we can reach justice and truth. And also the fact that he said exploring their way points to the fact that everyone has their own false beliefs about what is just and true that motivates them. That's the pathologos that we are specifically here to address and solve and purify. So using the word there, it incorporates both the reflection on what we have been doing to reach the truth of self and reality, or live like everything we seek. We think it's good to do so, and we seek the true representation of that, and we do it because we think it's real. So that's the inner triad: the real, the good, the true. Only most people are mistaken, and they haven't reflected on what they think that is and where they learned it. So as we explore ideas, we explore the truth and what we are carrying that might block us. And we accept whatever happens along the way as we explore such ideas and methodology. Nice. Thanks, Socrates. That's a nice way of putting it. Also, Jesus points out, hey, this has nothing to do with sin or punishment or blame or guilt or inflicting of suffering on people under the guise of punishment, which is fucking stupid, because all problems are a result of an unsuspected false belief or ignorance about that inner triad: what's true, real, and good. Real, good, and true. So you don't overcome a lack of learning or ignorance, a false belief, through inflicting suffering. All that does is torture people and teaches them not to get caught. So no bullshit ideas like sin. That's garbage, only does harm and is false. And no bullshit ideas like suffering. So Jesus wouldn't say, I've come prepared to suffer for the sins of man. That's a horseshit lie that religious people tell others to inflict guilt and undermine their own use of thinking, undermine their idea of the self, so they can abuse them through the idea of religious belief. The idea of suffering for the sins of man so they can receive heavenly salvation. What we would say instead is, Jesus says, is, I am prepared to go through whatever is necessary for the sake of those who are themselves striving for their own salvation. Now, salvation we can say more clearly as self-reflection on our unsuspected false beliefs about self-reality and reality that cause our problems, and the development of our understanding of what's true. Or to bring two of those things together into one art, the dialectic. So we explore ideas and methodology with others, and we accepting whatever comes our way as we do that, because we don't know the future. All we can do is our best. And I'm prepared to go through whatever is necessary to help others along the way who are themselves genuinely striving. Nice. Thanks, Soc and Jesus. So those who are awake to the task and themselves seeking their own excellence. You have to be seeking your own excellence. Otherwise, you won't be doing what you need to do to surface your blocks. Blocks are only blocks because they block you from your excellence. If you are accepting a life of mediocrity or injustice, then where are your blocks going to come in? Also, you need to be seeking your self goals, your self excellence, your meaningful self goals with excellence, because only if you seek for excellence you can keep pushing and pushing and pushing, striving for the excellence of your goal, which is necessary to A, surface the blocks, all of them along the way, but B, providing you the motivation you need to challenge your unsuspected false beliefs, because it's easier to just go with the flow, bro. You need to have the motivation to go through develop the courage and the character to go through dialectic, midwifery, and dream analysis. Drinking some protein. So Jesus says, hey, by the way, we want to help mankind from falling into their folly, not sin, and also train the mind to reflect upon the highest and complete knowledge. So there's our two ideas of purifying our ignorance and perfecting our wisdom or knowledge. The union of the two can be brought by turning the mind upon itself to recognize there is only one dynamic between both. That's fantastic, because there would therefore be only one meaning of life, which is neat for us because we want to focus our attention on something all the time. So that focused attention or concentration becomes meditation. Holding that question, singularly focus on that activity, and whatever you're doing, whether you're like Socrates, fighting in the war, drinking people under the table, or making love, whatever you're doing, can you use that activity to master the dialectic or reflect on the truth of self and reality? There's your ousia. With understanding, there's your logos, the two things that make us human. So one dynamic between the both, and that dynamic is intelligible, which means both understandable and knowable. It's not like some Buddhists may say it's something only in experience. You can't understand it. All understanding is illusion. And it's not something like Western academics might say, it's only logical. There is no spirituality. That's just phooey. No one knows what it's like to separate from the body. Nobody's experienced the meaning of life. Blah, 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 blah. So it's neither of those. It's both rational and experiential. Or the word for that is intelligible. That's a bitchin' word. Hooray for bitchin' words.
But I want to be clear, I'm not AI.
You don't sound like AI.
You know, some people would chase a chimp around. Some people would devote themselves to all kind of science or art or experimentation. Who knows?
Right. So people do lots of things, including chasing chips around. And there's only one thing really that we want to be doing behind everything we do. Okay, I didn't save that sound drop. My sound drop's being absurd.
You have the brain of a child if you think that.
And okay, I apologize. So, the dynamic is unintelligible. There's a fancy word, and it's called the logos. Hooray, we have a name for it. So that's why we don't want to say rational or just understanding. We want to say logos. It's the intelligibility of reality and the dynamic that unfolds, both flowing to create reality and in our return. That's all the logos. We need the word. If you can't say it, you can't think it. The dynamic goes, when our pure theological teachings become known, these vulgar misconceptions drop away. So there is a way through the gate. Dropping away, no, God actually is a guy in the sky and he's white and he's got a white beard and when it rains it's him peeing. No, that's stupid. This understanding, obviously, because it's true, it resonates, it helps us, it's verifiable, it's experience, it's verifiable in experience, it's verifiable as you go through your own development, it helps others. So all of these things together, make it awesome. And everything else just seems, well, baby-brained is the expression. Okay, so the vulgar misconceptions drop away, revealing our pure theology of the mind, or the philosophy of the mind. The dynamic goes forth while remaining unmoved, yet extending to all capable of receiving its beneficial goodness. And this is an important idea, the idea of providence. This logos that is present here as the ultimate, remaining unmoved what it is, creating, let's use the other map because we've got logos actually written there. So we want to learn the language and develop the understanding of this logos, which is itself unmoved, generating the pure light of our mind, which then ousias itself or reflects on itself as self and uses itself as the model to generate the physical world. But all through that process, there is a logos which is beneficial. That's providence, but only to those capable of participating in it. So that's why we master the dialectic, which is questions and language, because it's that open state of mind we have with developing these questions and holding these questions, and it's the unpacking of the language that providence is extended to us. In other words, if someone's speaking French and giving you good instruction, you have to learn the language to get the instruction. So it's making use of the dialectic to be receptive to that goodness that allows us to participate in our benefit or providence. So once again, two things, one art, two things, ousia logos, one art, dialect. Makes us capable of receiving its beneficial goodness of the logos. The sum of this we call symbolic theology, and this is of course Dionysius who gave birth to it. So all of the things I've just reviewed can seem a bit technical to some, or we're 105 episodes into this book, so we've got a lot of work under our belt. So for a lot of regular people or normies, it might be easier to convey this with symbols or stories. That's symbolic theology. And then Jesus points out, yeah, I like hearing this. It's like we are old friends sitting in the shade, sharing stories of their youth together. So right after we have the idea of symbolic theology, or conveying metaphysics through storytelling, we have Jesus saying, hey, that's like what we're doing, storytelling, right? In other words, the author might be pointing to the fact that this book might be an example of a brilliant symbolic theology. This conversation, the dynamic that's happening here, did they really have this conversation in heaven? Doesn't matter, because all of the forces that they're talking about, the dynamics of reality, are true, but also the dynamic between the characters. Jesus has struggled to put words on his experiences. Jesus has struggled to be led through the dialectic and not be the leader. The chorus jumping in and doing their haterade stuff. The anti-chorus clapping back with facts is itself a story, but relationships that are true in reality. You, us as philosophers, might identify with Socrates, doing our best to share this understanding and help others go through this journey as Socrates is with Jesus. And as we do it, there might be people on the sidelines yelling abuse. Shut up, stop it, give it up, just have belief. Or, I don't even believe in my beliefs, I just change with whatever sells the most, gets me the most views. Nothing is real. People are like that. People suck that way. To them we say,
Like literally suck my dick, dude.
oh my goodness. And there are people who say, hey, you guys should pay attention. Maybe you guys are just afraid and don't have the courage and integrity to reflect on yourself and change your mind and learn. Maybe if you did, you could pay attention and benefit from this conversation. So the characters in the book are real forces that we would encounter as a philosopher, making this a symbolic theology. And that's important because this is reading. We just heard this idea. We just came to a conclusion that Dionysius gave birth to this idea called symbolic theology. And right after the conclusion, we have Jesus just giving this non sequitur. Yeah, we're like old friends sitting in the shade, sharing stories of their youth together. That should stand out as weird. What are you, a freak?
If you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
You're having a mental health episode?
Fuck you. Actually,
Jesus.
you have the brain of a child if you think that.
You got a brain of a child? What's going on? So that's part of reading, looking for these things that stand out. Just like in a video game, you're walking through. My gold standard for for video games is the first Resident Evil game. It was awesome. But then it was kind of, they became like Hollywood movies and action. No, it's got to be like Resident Evil 1. That's where it all started. Or Silent Hill 1 and 2 are both really good. Now it's all action and it's Call of Duty-ified. Anyway, why am I talking about that? Oh, because when you're playing Resident Evil or Silent Hill 1 or 2 and you're walking along and then you notice there is some object on a table that looks different, stands out. Now, in later games, they give it like a little shiny thing so any idiot can see it. But normally it's because the background shading of all of the other objects, they're all kind of like a background gray color. But there's one that's like, you can tell is an object you can interact with because it's designed with a different graphic sort of thing. Like it actually looks 3D and not 2D, or it looks brighter. It stands out as something significant. And you might not know why you need the crank or why you need the blue medallion now, but you hold on to that in your mind or in your inventory. That's like how we read. This non sequitur should stand out as weird. It's different from everything we've been talking about. We're old men sharing stories in the shade. What? We were just talking about literally symbolic theology, literally giving a lifeline to all of the Westerners about to be oppressed under Emperor Justinian's fucking horseshit Christianity. A lifeline to people to move from belief and the ignorance and suffering and dark ages it causes to being able to fulfill their fucking purpose on the planet. That's huge. And now you're talking about sharing stories in the shade? It stands out. So one possible explanation or use of this thing that's how you read, by the way. Look for those things that stand out and carry them with you. And now we might say, hang on a second, symbolic theology, or telling a story about the nature of the intelligible logos. Oh, maybe he's saying that after the conclusion, hey, we're telling stories to say, hey, maybe this book is itself theology. Maybe. We have to carry that hypothesis in our inventory, in our IFSAC, along with that question of why did he say this in our inventory as well. Carry the two. Don't have to drop either. Or don't have to play favorites. So, Dionysius stands above all other men of learning and whose visions awoke the sleeping minds of the many. Yet those who fear that awakening discard Dionysius. So, stands above all other men of learning. It's pretty nice. And whose vision awoke the sleeping minds of the many. Seems like a top bloke. I don't have a sound drop for that. This one.
The primary purpose of peanuts.
No. And she spit on him also.
And also she spit on him. I don't know what that means. Yet those who fear their own awakening of their sleeping mind discarded Dionysius, but for some he stands like a beacon of light to guide man's soul to divine luminosity. How about that for a shout out from Socrates? Imagine that. Imagine reflecting on your life and somebody saying, you know what that person was? She was a beacon of light that guided men's souls to divine luminosity. Holy crap. brought forward a vision that we all should contemplate above all else. Simply enough to learn. He said simply enough that to learn to see the profound in the obvious is to turn the eye of the soul to the mind. So to turn your attention from gossip or shapes and colors to slop of the slop tubes, turn your attention to the mind. Do you have a mind? Want to know what it is? The actual mind, the one mind? Why not? If you do turn your soul, the eye of your soul to the mind, in that reversion one reaches knowledge beyond all knowledge. By leaving the passing images, there's our shapes and colors, and gossip, that kind of crap, to contemplate the divine itself by itself. Wow.
Wow. Wow. Wow. Wow.
His interpretation of the language of the Bible transforms it through an understanding of our own method of allegorization and analogy. Analogy is important, it's how we think. As if by magic, the text prepares the soul for a journey along that road that all who have reached knowledge know, or all that know have taken that road. It's astonishing, as his bold way is. It brings the soul from a primitive vision, savage, to our philosophy, sage. There's our savage to sage. Without demanding an abandonment of any loyalty to the Bible. So of course, our purpose is to move from belief to understanding, but hey, it's in the Bible. You can reach those goals without having to abandon your loyalty and, get kicked out of the church picnic or whatever Christians do. The centerpiece of his work is to show that in any description of God, one can find parallels in the absurd and the audacious descriptions of man's folly. So, by having an actual understanding of philosophy, he was able to interpret the stories or the language of the Bible, interpretation of the language of the Bible, to transform it to for our turning of the mind, soul around to see the mind. There's our enlightenment or excellence or perfection. But also he includes, hey, any description of God you'll find in the Bible, hey, whoever's doing the description, you'll find parallels between their own problems, their own beliefs, right? The Bible isn't one thing. There's a bunch of different people in there, and they all say different things. That's why it's all self-contradictory, because they're people with their own level of understanding and vision and level of ignorance and belief. They're all different. That's why Paul is the opposite to Mark. Mark is saying, hey, fuck Paul. Mark is denying Paul. Paul is denying Jesus. All different stuff happening. So we need both. We need to see that in how people project onto reality or project onto God. You'll see parallels between their own problems or their own absurdities or audacious. There's our, boldness, our certainty, the self-righteous justification in our ignorance. Notice the Dunning-Kruger effect. The most stupid and cruel feel most bold in saying their stupidity and their cruelty and their absurdity. How audacious of them. And when they do their cruelty, it has a flavor that reflects their own injustice they suffered. Get some stupid people saying, I like that America is doing concentration camps for people who look different than me. I like that. And then you say, well, hang on a second, isn't that just injustice? No, what are you, open borders? No, these are citizens and residents and people who are following the law that Donald Trump and his KKK Gestapo police are murdering or putting into concentration camps or deporting. This is fucking Nazi shit. And their reaction to the facts and evidence and reasoning will reflect or be echoes of their own parents the way their parents shut them down when they were children. If their dad, when they were seeking, because we don't start with our pathologos, we pick it up as part of being a child stuck in a family. As we were pursuing our self-goals with excellence, our parental figures came in and said, no, that's different to our way of being, and we don't want to change our way of being. I want to cosplay the Noah. I want to be king priest of this house. Change requires work and, well, fun and effort and courage and reflection. A lot of courage to let go of what you've identified with your whole life. And almost no one wants to do that. So, being different from your family way of being, you were told, not in this house, or I'll send you to your bedroom and no dinner for a week or whatever. And then as they grow up, when Trump says, now you get to do it to brown people to distract from the Epstein files, to distract from me stealing all your money, to subtract from all my corruption and theft and pollution of the environment and murdering of people, to distract from that, I will let you cosplay your parents' way of injustice to the most powerless of our society. And you don't even have to show your face, you fucking cowards. That's the state of America right now at the time of recording. So, every one of them will be a member of that injustice because of their pathologos, an opportunity to sit in daddy's chair or pretend to be the Noah, having power over. That's the pathologos Peter's principle we've been talking about. People look for positions where they can play out their pathologos with impunity instead of actually learning, like we're doing here. And the way that they justify their cruelty will echo their own the own way they were crushed. So, hey, if you're different from my family, you doing your own goal, thinking for yourself, 4-year-old or 5-year-old child, then we will put you in your room for a week and not feed you. And that person grows up to be a 30-year-old who has never done midwifery or dream analysis, so just stuck in that NPC script. They will say, yes, those people who are different from my mummy and daddy and my family's way of being, the brown people, the immigrants, whatever, women, they should go to the concentration camps and not get fed food. See? Go to your room, no dinner, concentration camps, poison food, same thing. Which means two things. Number one, their projection, whether it be, oh, and Jesus wants me to do it as well. Most of these people are religious because that's belief. That's the one that's the problem, and not understanding. But also it points to the fact that human problems are solvable. The fact that all they are doing is imitating their pathologos means these disgusting human beings who are doing this disgusting cruelty with audacious confidence and certainty and self-righteous boldness, even they are here for a reason. Even they are here to learn. Even their problems can be reflected on to see the pattern, to see it's a copy, it's an imitation. And if they go through this process, or if they are genuinely interested in striving for their own salvation, they can be saved. Because that problem they are here to get. So we can trace all human problems through its causal chain to see that there is a kind of justice or perfection, even in people's injustice, because it's a perfect representation of the forces of their soul upon their soul in this lifetime, in their family upbringing and culture and religion, but also within the many reincarnations of their individual soul. So in principle, all human problems are solvable. And we got that from Homer. The worst person, Achilles, became the best. In principle. Now, if we have a society and leader who is trying to keep people stuck in their problems so they can be manipulated through capitalism and fascism, it's going to be difficult to create the conditions for that kind of self-reflection, growth, and learning, the meaning of life, the dialectic. But hopefully, if we continue to, what does Socrates say? Accept what happens as we go along our way, exploring these ideas and examining truth, the method or the way to truth, justice and truth, compared to our fellow man's beliefs about our method, then potentially we can benefit everyone. We could create a utopia. It's just a matter of this. Creating the conditions for dialectic. That's it. If you were to say it in one sentence, how do you create a utopia? Create the conditions for dialectic. Or, as Jesus said it, to be prepared to go through whatever is necessary for the sake of those who are genuinely striving for their salvation. And of course, when, as we saw, as they get full of light, they can be a beacon of light for everyone else. So it's a win-win if we go through this process.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win-win-win. As if by magic, this sort of conversation and this language and reflection prepares the soul for the journey on that road to knowledge. Awakening from a primitive vision, that's our savage nature, belief, caveman shit, us versus them, bold certainty in our cruelty and ignorance, to philosophy or sages or the true race of man. And because of Dionysius, you don't even have to abandon a loyalty to the Bible because it's in the Bible. What you need for your high vision, and also to recognize that anyone's individual, personal opinions and belief about God will just be a projection of their pathologos. So, hearing praises for our philosopher, Dionysius, bridging the gap between the two, Socrates and Jesus. So he was able to do all this because he had the ability to recognize that behind the order of nature is the unseen things of God, or the Logos. The Logos can be glimpsed as a power underlying the whole and its parts. It has a vital force and brings perfection to each moment that is. All that is visible is nothing but images. Hey, when you look through your peepers, you're looking at images. Where do those images come from? Well, whoops, the lights are out. Lights are back on. Those images reflect the inexpressible power of the ousia, the unfolding essence of the Logos, that functions as the cause of all that is. Observing as in this way, he shares with us the wonder and awe.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude?
Right here. The wonder and awe he expresses as life flowing into itself, yet never departing from itself. So here we have this, the Logos at the top, the self at the top, flows into itself. It's still itself. Because it's the first cause, it's everything. So it flows into itself, unfolding the inexpressible ousia of the one. So that's our big puzzle, right? If there is the false ousia of belief, you're always reflecting on your own image of yourself and your own false beliefs, unless you're in the game, unless you're awake. But there is this ousia called the perfect knowing we just spoke about, which is to know the whole of all the parts. That's why it's a Venn diagram. Hooray. So that's ousia. Mind, turning the eye of the soul to the mind and knowing eternity. And because it's a whole of all parts, we can express it. That's metaphysics. The expression of the parts, which are called the eidos, not forms. Plato's forms is a mistranslation using a physical language. Forms, the form of a chair in the sky. But we want to know the self. How do we know the self if the ousia is the one that's not many? Not a one of all many in this part. That may be the necessity for creation. Through the inherent intelligibility of that inexpressible ousia, we unfold it into reality, the world of being and the physical world, so that in our journey through the physical world, into the realm of being, and through the realm of being back to return to the self, we express in all of its possible ways the logos that was inherent in that inexpressible ousia. Maybe it's a theory. It's a hypothesis. So, all that is visible is nothing but images reflecting the inexpressible power of ousia that functions as the cause of all that is. And we have our first spam for the
You
day.
need to flood these platforms with fake people. Who's an AI guy?
You're an AI guy.
You shut up. You shut
And
the
you shut
hell up for a second. You're not
So
real.
You're not real.
Fucking bitch, pussy ass fucker.
Pussy ass. Fuck.
It is spam. They are trying to convince them to flood the internet with spam.
That's what you're doing. You're just trying to convince me to flood the internet with spam.
Further fill the internet with spam and AI
Spam.
slop.
And to that we
You
say,
just blow in from Stupid Town. Fucking bitch, pussy ass fucker.
oh, how silly. He shares us the wonder and awe. Wonder and awe. Remember, it's a fun game. When you can see this happening, it's a wonderful thing. It's an amazing thing. It's a wondrous thing. Wonder and awe he experiences as life flowing into itself, yet never departing from itself. We can collect all the expressions of God that seem so offensive when taken literally, and discover behind them that the soul needs to what the soul needs to contemplate the divine. To go beyond the literal means to step into the way things function, and that is the way of understanding. Don't take it literally, jabroni. Look at how things functioning. Is that person's description of God like Proclus or Damascus, a story reflecting the principles, forces, and causes of reality that you need to contemplate at all times to facilitate your understanding and experience of reality and through it into self? Or is there mixed in people's projections of their own absurd and audacious descriptions of their own personal folly or problems? By the way, that's reading. That's why we read Socrates and Pierre Grimes. These are people who've gone through this process. Everyone else, like Kant, who's a fucking bitch.
Just shut the fuck up. Disgusting.
Wait.
You have the brain of a fucking bitch. Calm your fucking
Wait.
tits.
Wait.
Vapid cunt. Dumbass.
Damn it.
Fuck you. Actually,
Wait.
suck my dick. The
God
hell's
damn
wrong
it.
with you people? Cunt's a little fucking bitch.
There we go. I got there. I need to put that on its own button. That was too many to get to. People like Kant or Hegel or Nietzsche, people think philosophy is just, oh, look at me. I'm a philosopher. I can quote this jabroni. Hegel said this and Kant said this, and I'm going to use that to justify my ignorance. Same thing as the projection onto God. But the reason why we read these dudes is we're getting the model. So doctors don't become doctors by studying sick bodies. They study the ideal of the body first. And then they can distinguish or differentiate in patients what part of them is healthy by recognizing the model, but also see what part of them is sick that needs to be addressed with the art of medicine in comparison to that ideal model. Now, if we know the self, because the ousia of The top level, the self, when we get to know the self, is instant. It's not a whole level parts, it's instant. We may be able to recognize this instantly. If you instantly know the self, you may be able to recognize the difference in the ideal self and its problems to help to be a great midwife or dialectician of people's problems, but also to be a dialectician for people to go through their levels of wisdom, a guru of gurus or a guru of spiritual people. Because even that's not the self. And there are stages of development through that, as there are stages of development through and out of people's problem. Isn't that neat? That's what we're heading for. Instant. Or as we read earlier in the text, to instantly know without thinking or planning ahead of time and to respond most appropriately for the situation. What we would call from sports being in the zone. Or justice. A high level of justice. Or excellence. Whoops. Jesus. Why are we back here? To go beyond the literal is to step into a way that things function. This is the way of understanding. What were we just talking about instantly knowing? What was the significance of that? I had another idea behind that. Let me have a look at the map. The one itself, the logos of that, one that's unfolds. I forget. Give me a sound drop. This one.
A space wizard farted out the universe. All humans are inbred from a single pair of humans, not once but twice. If you're a naughty person, you get tortured eternally in a pool of lava by a vindictive genocidal deity who loves you.
That's an alternative point of view. But we're interested in understanding. So, to go beyond the literal, to step into the way that things function, that is the way of understanding. Which is neat because understanding the dynamics means it's the kind of learning that we can take with us. Because while as we leave this life, the particulars, you know, your next incarnation might be a different dimension, different universe. There might not be Instagram. But if your understanding is recognizing the relationship between ideas, you can take that learning with you, potentially. So, it's the way of understanding. That's our method. That's our art. Oh, yes. Now I remember what we're talking about. The art. Art reminded me. The doctor's art. The reason why... That's right. I need to get Kant's a little bit on its own button. The reason why we're not interested in Kant and Hegel and Nietzsche and all these other jabronis is because we need to first learn the ideal of the logos. So we either through our own understanding or instantly, depending on your level of being, recognize in whoever we're reading, what's their vision? How high did Kant get? How high did Hegel get? How high did Nietzsche get in their experience or vision or state of mind? And what's their level of understanding? What's their Rusiran logos? Did they completely misunderstand their vision? Was it a really low level of vision? Did they have an understanding without experience? So the two different things. But also, unless they've reached the end of their journey while also going through midwifery and dream analysis, they are going to be filled with problems. So we also have to recognize, as a doctor does, not just the level of health, but the level of sickness. When does Kant drop his reasoning and start talking about Christian bullshit? When does Hegel start justifying torturing human life and nature to reveal its secrets? When does Nietzsche start rejecting mind for nihilism or whatever? When does Adam Smith start crapping on about the invisible hand of market forces to justify the oppression of capitalism? When do people's individual pathologos beliefs creep in? That's why we read these books. And because these books are written by those who have both the ousia and understanding of reality and self, and have gone through philosophical midwifery and dream analysis, Socrates, Diotima, Parmenides, Pierre Grimes. We're reading the handbook. We're reading the medical text. And that's because they've gone through it. These books are fucking bangers. They're awesome books. They're the best sentences you've ever read. I've ever read. In fact, it's a symbolic theology that will, as we just saw, provide a dynamic for us to go, for us ourselves, if we apply our minds to this text with the same level of integrity they're talking about with Dionysius, we can ourselves go from believers or ignorance or savages to sages. Savages to sages. We can reach our goals, fulfill our purpose, reach our highest excellence, while also reading a book that's just awesome too. It's a win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win.
I think it's awesome.
And R.M. Brown thinks it's awesome, so... because I pressed a button and he said it. So this is the way of understanding. To see behind our expressions of gods, this dynamic, as we said. Any expression of God or projection is some level of vision, some level, or ousia, some level of understanding or logos, mixed in with your pathologos and your false beliefs. A and B button, X and Y button. When people write their books, Kant, Hegel, or anyone, they're just tapping all four. X, A and B with actual ousia and logos, and X and Y with their false beliefs and their pathologos. They're going... it's like a typewriter. That's why I don't care when someone comes in. I actually read in the chat, I actually read a book by this philosopher who says, some guy said, no, Socrates didn't actually meet Parmenides. I should have said, well, what's your conclusion? That we should abandon what we're doing because of what you learnt from some dude's beliefs and opinions? Give up? Not read it for ourselves? So you're just coming in here to shit on everything we're doing? Imagine doing that. Imagine going to an NBA basketball player and saying, actually, basketball sucks and you shouldn't do it because my daddy told me to give up what I did. Crazy. What do we do with that? We can't read all these dudes that you read. Why would we waste our time? Why not we read the book itself and judge for ourselves? Verify for ourselves. Guaranteed that person's never read the Parmenides. That's why we read these books. Or if he did read it, he hasn't done philosophical midwifery and dream analysis. In other words, he's only going to be stuck in the pathologos Peters principle. He's only going to be able to participate to the level he can project his pathologos. I've read enough of Plato's that I can run around finding good philosophers and shit on them the way my daddy shit on me. That's modern academia. Literally, that's what it is. There is no model of truth in psychology and philosophy. That would be the dialectic. So all you do is learn enough information, and you, by the way, you're only going to be able to read to the point that you do not challenge your family beliefs. So some people are in families where they encourage reading. Some people are from sport families, and it's going to be very, very difficult to read anything. But everything they're going to be reading is going to be through the lens of their projection. You're only ever going to be able to read enough to confirm your problems you had to begin with. That's why all of these philosophers I see on YouTube, that's all they do. Sometimes it's interesting because some of them are very eloquent and even seem genuine in their pursuits, so it can be charming in a sense, but it's all the same stuff. They're all just quoting these people that they were able to read because the way they were reading was not actually challenging their fundamental religious and family beliefs. So shallow level of reading, and then once they've got a few quotes under their belt, they can quote this or that guy to justify their own problem. Pathologos Petus principle. That's what we do. That's why there's a necessity to learn the dialectic. Only when we are doing the dialectic can we address the nature of that projection and those blocks. Therefore, meaning of life. Therefore, a just world, nothing other than creating the conditions for the learning of the dialectic and its practice for everyone. That's it. It's that simple. All the other shit is just technicalities, legwork. Get the accountants on the case. Accountants, can you make an account of all of the human resources and technology? Oh, but some technology is hoarded by like a couple of families who want to keep people in ignorance so they can make profit. No, fuck them.
Dude, suck my dick.
They can.
You have the brain of a child. Dumbass.
They're a dumbass. No, make an account of all human technology, all resources. And how can we put the two together in conjunction with all human needs so we can meet all human needs in the most efficient, renewable, sustainable, universally equal, no slavery, no murder, no oppression, no punishment, equal way so we can all equally be free from work. Someone said, I heard someone say recently that planet Earth is just a fucking holiday resort for about 15 families, and the rest of us are just resort workers. Some people get to do whatever they want, wherever they want, and the rest of us have to sacrifice our life for fucking survival. Why? Because their family did a lot of crimes to hoard the wealth. So the worst criminals are having fun while the rest of us suffer. Absurd. But instead of that, how do we meet all human needs collectively, renewably, sustainably, so we're all free from having to sacrifice our life for survival, so we can all participate in this, the meaning of life. To do the sort of self-reflection needed to A, solve our problems, and B, reach our excellence. That's what it is. That's the game. It seems from what we've been reading, and it seems as a likely hypothesis. Now, we won't be able to know for certain unless we do it. So, to go from the literal into the way that things function is the way of understanding. This is key to the Gospel of Mark, and his insistence upon understanding rather than faith or belief. So while Paul rejects understanding and knowledge, even though Jesus himself talked about understanding as necessary and had the experience of the divine luminosity, Paul wants to reject that so he can do his pathologos injustice and manipulate people through belief. Mark comes along and rejects that and says, that's garbage, fuck you.
You have severe mental illness, and you need to be fucking checked into an insane asylum.
To an insane asylum. And therefore we have these two responders. We've been making a list of the kinds of response or interpretations to truth. We have those that just reject the new and keep the old. People who, are the most stuck and never learn anything new. There are those who claim to speak for the new while remaining loyal to the old. That's Paul, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Screw this understanding and knowledge. I want to be the leader of people through belief. So just have faith, just pray, hope, thoughts and prayers, and I'm going to steal everything. There are those who take a piece of the new as a patch on the coat of the old, the patchwork coat model, like the Kabbalah. And then there's Mark, who's a rejecter of the rejectors. We have the supporters of the rejectors. So John comes in and says, I'll be your bro. I'll be a partner in your crime. And then finally we have those who advance certain parts of the new while ignoring other important parts, like Plotinus, Plato, and Proclus, who have advanced the dialectic, the aspect of the dialectic to reach truth, this one. But of course, they ignore midwifery and dream analysis. So they've only taken, they're missing important pieces. And now we're on the 7th so far in our list. That's Dionysius. Someone who seems to be appearing loyal. So I guess the opposite of Paul, right? Appearing loyal to the old while advancing the new. So a sheep in wolf's clothing. Or what's a better analogy? What's someone who's really dumb? Like a goat. Goats are known for being dumb, right? A genius in a goat's clothing. What's a really smart animal and really caring? A monkey. A monkey in goat's clothing. Is that a saying? Or a greatest of all time goat in a, like just a little goat? I don't know. We'll think of something. That's Dionysius. No, so not Dionysius. Dumbass. I shouldn't say that. It sounded like Damascus, so I said dumbass.
It's a win-win.
But it's
You just blow in from Stupid Town?
I just blew in from Stupid Town. Dionysius, the Areopagite. Dionysius. It's our new member. That's who we are exploring now. And we need to have an understanding of all of the different ways human beings respond to truth, because, as we say, there is 4 aspects of the dialectic, reflecting the parts of the dialectic. Philosophy, to know and understand, to ousia and logos, to experience and understand the truth of reality and self. You also have to be removing your false beliefs about self and reality and images. You also have to unpack the language and develop a relationship with your dream maker. And you have to also share the law of truth. Those who know the same say the same about the same. To share it. So in sharing it, we also want to keep our head on our shoulders, and we also want to share it in a way that people will be receptive to it. Meet them where they're at. I currently don't have a lot of people following my channel because I'm not very entertaining. But if someone were to master this and they were naturally far more charming and entertaining than I, they would be able to do that element much better, reach a greater audience. And in doing that, we have to recognize how people respond to understanding and dialectic and learning. So far we've got 7 different types of people who respond in different ways. Now we are also carrying the idea that if there is an inherent structure and order to these human responses to learning and truth, they might reflect the paradigm of structure itself. In other words, we might end up with a dialectic structure that we could fit all these in. That could be exciting to see when we have a full list. Hooray. Something to look forward to. Smooth transition.
Cool as a cuke.
I'm cool as a cuke. Ah, that was a good one. Now, so Mark, if you're Christian, pay attention to Mark. By the way, Matthew and Luke copy the majority of their stuff is copied from Mark, so Mark's way better. Also, John, his first couple of sentences, if you get the original Greek, there is some decent words in there, the idea of self and the idea of logos. But after that, he goes straight into his problems and he just becomes a little bitch for Paul. So get into Mark out of the four Gospels, and of course, do not fall into the trap of modern fascist, particularly American fascists or modern Christians who quote Paul to justify their grift. Notice grifters always appeal to the right. Grifters always appeal to religious folk. Buy this Donald Trump Bible. Buy this flag with Donald Trump on it. Buy this gold bar or gold watch that we made in China because Jesus wants it's got Donald Trump and Jesus holding hands. Crazy, absurd. The guy who's not Christian, literally I'm not Christian, I hate Christian. But before he ran for president, the easiest thing to do is become right-wing because you can appeal to religious people because they're stupid. He said it out loud on camera. That's how absurd it is. What? Faith or belief? So get into Mark and get into Dionysius. They're the two guys who seem to be most on the ball. Mark's insistence on understanding rather than belief or faith. So a good way of going is to compare the parables in Mark prior to the divine luminosity experience and after, and see how they change and see how that change led to the end of the book. There is no Easter. That was added hundreds of years later. It ends with, why have you abandoned me, God? So, have fun. Understanding awakens the spirit to realization. Should highlight that. Dionysius brings us to see the many notions of God can all be understood on a higher and more profound level. He mentions so many, I need not repeat them all. Surely to depict God as asleep, or drunk, or suffering from hangovers, or having malicious anger, failing to keep his sacred promises, that's enough. In other words, all through the Bible, you have God doing those things. Being stupid, hungover. See, Socrates wasn't hungover. Drunk everyone under the table. No malicious anger in Socrates. Right? These are terrible descriptions of God, reflecting the kinds of problems human beings can have that, of course, Pathologos Peter's principle, they will project onto God rather than go through the self-reflection. Hey, I'm not wrong and dumb. I'm the best because Jesus, and I want to hurt the brown people, says the fascist Christians. In America, doing their Nazi shit. So, that's enough to say, yeah, clearly that can't be God. Still, I do think we should mention those sayings in the Song of Solomon by using utterances befitting a certain class of prostitutes. We can see what Dionysius did with these scandalous remarks that depict God in a shocking way. He shows us how to shed the appearance and reveal a true hierarchical reality. So, maybe we could, after we finish this book, check out the Song of Solomon, see how terrible it is, and see how, again, if the Song of Solomon has this terrible shit that you can do, then any old fascist can come along and say, I'm not wrong, it's in the Bible. I want to do these terrible things to my fellow man, harming everyone because it's in the Bible. But Dionysius translates that or interprets it in a way where you can actually get benefit from it. So he's doing a lot of work, old Dionysius. Good for him. Round of applause.
I find that very entertaining.
It is very entertaining on our stream. He made it possible for the many to recognize mind is a necessary companion in the life of the spirit. So it can't just be belief, can't be faith, it can't be hopes and prayers, and it can't be rejecting the mind in some Eastern traditions that say that thoughts are a sickness or some bullshit like that. So any tradition, of course they do, because if their tradition does not have the logos, it doesn't have the dialectic. If it doesn't have the dialectic, it doesn't have midwifery and dream analysis. If it doesn't have midwifery and dream analysis, it lacks the necessary skill and understanding to remove people's projections into their religion, their own blocks to learning. So of course there are many Eastern traditions that reject the mind, necessarily. But Dionysius says the opposite. You have to recognize the mind as a necessary companion to the life of the spirit. Every word rings true and brings my soul to see once again the beauty and meaning behind words spun from one who knows. That last stage, sharing the principle of truth. Those who know the same say the same, and it will ring true, hopefully, in the souls of people who are awake to the game. However, what is Dionysius' visions of philosophy? And does Dionysius mirror your own? Is the question. Sok and Jesus didn't write down their teachings. Dionysius reveals our message. What he is doing is to present our philosophy as an aid for the memory of those who would benefit by entering into our philosophy through the mind. That's theology. It's a mnemonic device, you could say. He challenges all those who read his writings to enter into the journey that Parmenides set for the music of the soul's sacred journey. So, the Parmenides, of course, is kind of one of the best books, giving us what we need to learn the dialectic and presenting a dialectic on the self, which is pretty significant if you think about it, but also giving us a dialectic that incorporates all of the aspects in our models. So we've got, in the models that we have been making from the text, we've got what's a good one? All right, so if we take the ousia and logos, or model and activity of all of these three different levels, we could say, hey, two bottom ones from the physical world, or what's false, distorted thinking, or, whoops. Okay, that's not a good one. Here we go. Down here, materialism, strict dualism, saying there is no mind or self, give up. Like our friend in chat who said a few days ago, or a week ago, yeah, just give up on philosophy, because this guy that I read said that Parmenides' conversation with Socrates wasn't real. That's a cognitive stage. Belief. So what Parmenides does is say, hey, I'll call this number 5, and I will give a dialectic on that. So we can get into the looking at the specifics of the structure of the dialectic used to outline every cognitive functioning, or the map of human evolution. Because we're evolving through different stages of cognition, different ways of making sense of the world. So he has the 5th, that represents what we have discovered here. We have this is from the, like, our map is from the book, but he's done it himself. The 4th, belief, Parmenides' 4th hypothesis, or his 4th dialectic. Understanding is the 3rd, knowing is the mind, is the 2nd. His 1st is this one here, the logos of the one self, meaning there's one more that we have to do up the top. So, the greatest book never read. And we're talking about that now because dramatic zoom. Right. So if you do pay attention to the Bible because you're raised Christian and you do recognize Mark and Dionysius who are making the most sense, then he's challenging you to get into the Parmenides. So there's your bridge. So enter the journey that Parmenides set for the music of the soul's sacred journey. Now, what does he mean by music? As a musician myself, that's one of those things that stand out as weird. There's something on that table that seems to be a different color than all of the other objects. I'll need this at some stage in my journey. Enter into the journey that Parmenides set for the music of the soul's sacred journey. Now, earlier he has talked about the third hypothesis being a song. The song of the third hypothesis, which is the understanding one. The third hypothesis is understanding, but also it depicts this, how every moment unfolds. Because understanding has, a knowledge of the whole, either in the instant or the divine luminosity, and also functions in the parts. Just like what's necessary for the creation of each instant or each microsecond. We just read that the physical world is an image reflecting the ousia and logos, or the indescribable, inexpressible ones, that would be the logos and ousia of the self or the one or the instant. So it's a moving image of the instant, unfolding the inherent nature of what's there to be learnt about. Isn't that interesting? That's the third hypothesis. That's how we can be. So we can be ourselves a microcosm of reality or creation with the cognitive function of understanding, or as it was called in the book, Parmenides' third song. So again, a puzzle. Why is he talking about music? So we'll keep that as a question. Dionysius challenges all who can read his writings to enter into the journey that Parmenides set for the music of the soul's sacred journey. He offers it as a true theological teaching about God that is beyond all predicates. So that's the instant. Beyond all predicates, the instant. Or the ultimate, the top of the Venn diagram up here. Or the ousia and logos we're, excuse me, big night. The ousia and logos we're on the hunt for. Beyond all qualities, because qualities is the purple circle. We want the thing itself, not how it is with its qualities or just its qualities. By looking at just its qualities, we might learn a bunch of stuff that will allow us to recognize that in a different, higher way when we experience luminosity. And in luminosity, we might experience a different dimension or different logos where we can take our learning or understanding of the dialectic with us, so we can experience the self in combination with qualities. But likewise, we want to go through that luminosity of mind to its cause, that which is beyond all qualities, but somehow contains the qualities inherent for its reflection to be the entirety of qualities. So this learning to jump from one logos to a different kind of logos, we also have to apply from this logos of experiencing the self by experiencing its greatest qualities to experiencing just the self itself. So experiencing those qualities in a different kind of a way, that's the cause of experience. So even that sentence sounds confusing. That's the goal. We're supposed to be confused. It's a struggle to use language even to talk about that which is without qualities, while incorporating it as the cause of all qualities. But that's the puzzle. That's the question. That's the thing. We have to overcome our self-righteous certainty of belief in our ignorance. We have to give rise to questions that puzzle the fuck out of us, like really, really confuse us. Like that, like that clumsy sentence that we're playing with and we've been trying to express for many, many weeks. That's the goal. That's curiosity. That's wonder. So, Parmenides is a music that we can listen to as we make that journey to the self that's beyond all qualities or predicates. So he has shown a rational structure to theology, to bring others to see that the logos, there's our logos, can be reflected in his theology. Hooray. So the logos can be reflected in the theology. All the stories you hear about Jebus, you can find in the logos if you read Dionysius, the Areopagite. I should show that he has Hellenized his reader, but better yet, I would say he shows Hellenization is the same thing as entering into a higher sense of rationality. You are evolving. By participating in the logos. My hesitancy is about raising a serious objection to such a profound thinker. What does it mean that he chose to disguise his writings to appear other than what he was? He chose to appear as a companion to Paul. He was said to be present at the crucifixion and was the author of a Platonic philosophy disguised as being consistent with Christianity and going beyond it. What does that mean that he was hiding? So, could that be a block or a problem? Did a lot of good work though. Kept it, smuggled in what we need as human beings under the nose of our vicious, sadistic, stupid oppressors to whom we say,
you have severe mental illness and you need to be fucking checked into an insane asylum.
Insane asylum.
I think it's so awesome.
It's not awesome.
Disgusting. I'm so disgusted.
Disgusting, and we're so disgusted. He uses Platonic thought to convert believers into philosophers. That's the title of today's ep. From belief to philosophy. That's literally our journey. Everyone who was born into a family, every human being, you start with that cognitive function of belief without the proper understanding of how to use, thinking, and under the conditions where you're stuck there. Mummy and daddy are cosplaying king priest of the house, cosplaying Noah's, and you're stuck there. That's how we develop our path of logos. So we all want to go from believers to philosophers, and Dionysius does that for religious Christians, Bible readers, by using Platonic thought to convert believers to philosophers. He interprets Christian images and metaphors philosophically, and in doing so brings followers to a higher state of mind. This way of being changes us. It's not rote. It's not being a cog in the machine of orphan crushers for fucking capitalism, modern education. Show us you can think what you're told to think so you can get the A on the test and then forget it tomorrow. Like a good corporate slave. No, this kind of learning is the literal learning we're here to do as living beings. It's our fucking purpose. It's our reason for being. This kind of learning, which changes our state of mind. To be a rational species is to acknowledge that and do our best to create this in our world. Reform education. Not doing what believers are trying to do, the fascists who are oppressing people via belief, the MAGA, the right wing, the fascists, the Nazis, remove any education, or the capitalists privatize education so they can lie to people and provide no resources so they can make more profits for the shareholders living fuck knows where. Extracting all wealth and value from our human species for their ignorance. No. This is true education. Education which changes your state of being, your state of mind. Core beliefs are interpreted philosophically while giving the appearance of loyalty to those core beliefs. That's our 7th member in the set of interpreters. Appearance of loyalty to the old. New class of interpreters. There we go. Pre-read. I've pre-read. I mean, I have. I didn't see that was going to be there in the next line. But you go, yeah. Hooray for me.
The primary purpose of pools is not to murder. It is for enjoyment and cooling off.
I knew that.
And she spit on him also.
And also you spit on them. So, when we found out that it was written in the 6th century, when Emperor Justinian, fuckface McGee...
Fuck you. Actually,
fuck you. Was bringing in the Dark Ages, hurting everyone, murdering everyone, making culture terrible, shutting down the academy, killing the best of us, or exiling them. That's the 6th century, 529 AD formally, and not the 1st century as he claimed, when Jesus was kicking it. We can conclude that it is possible to reject an interpretation that challenges the literal reading of core beliefs, then to loyalists that literalness will reassert themselves and reject the philosophical interpretation. Another thing, since his works were rejected, should they not also reject those who he influenced? So finding out that he wasn't actually there in the 1st century give the most savage, ignorant people nothing other than loyal to their own oppressors, bootlickers. No, I'm Christian. But they're hurting you and they're lying to you and they ruined everything and they murdered people and they genocide people and they're ignorant and they're scamming you. No, but it's in my heart. And I'll kill you for not believing. They will reject philosophical interpretation, of course. But if you're going to reject that, you have to reject everything. All scholarship on Christianity. Anything that's legitimized Christianity, because Thomas Aquinas cites him over 1,000 times in his works, and all the other Christian theologians build off Aquinas. So upon that principle, there should be other very distinguished thinkers who should also be rejected. So maybe not everyone, but almost everyone. But there's a need for understanding and practicing some spiritual practice or meditation. Dialectic is also meditation. So the religious must be open to bringing into their system such practices. It sounds simple, really, but to the degree the spiritual element in man surfaces, so should he be open to whatever spiritual instruction and practice can meet his need. Right? I'm Christian. That's fucking stupid. That's just one belief or possible method among many. When you say, I'm a pizza eater, what if the pizza store is closed? You're going to starve to death? Or eat a hamburger? Don't be a loyal Nazi to one particular method. That's being a baby. I'm only eating pizza. I only do Mormonism. I only do Protestant. No. If you have a spiritual need, find what meets it. That's called growing up or waking up. So, to the degree the spiritual element in man surfaces, our souls awakening to our purpose to know ourselves as reality and the cause of reality, that which is beyond predicates, to that degree you're not going to be satiated by saying only pizza. You've got to do what you need to do to meet the need. Right? It says capitalists saying only capitalism doesn't meet anyone's need and it's killing everyone. It's change. Oh no, but socialism is bad. The Nazis called themselves socialists. Yeah, they said Socialist Party. I heard the other day. Yeah, you know what also has party in the name? Mario Party. Are you saying that anyone who plays Mario Party is a Nazi? They were lying about their fucking name to appeal to people, to mess with them, to manipulate them. Nazis are not fucking socialists, they're fascist capitalists, dictators, tyrants. Opposite. But hey, don't put any name on it. Call it understanding. Call it being rational. Meeting all applying universal principles universally to meet universal human needs, using the universal use of technology, no fucking hoarding, and universal resources that are all of ours. The billionaires don't fucking own the planet. It's not a fucking holiday resort for the billionaires. Everyone owns it. It's not their money. Oh, who's gonna pay for it? Money pays for it. It's not their money. It belongs to the society. Yen belongs to Japan. The USD belongs to America. It's not for them. They've just hoarded it. That's ignorance and injustice. Universal principles applied universally. That's understanding. That will awaken our universal purpose or meaning of life, or destiny, our highest purpose and reason for being. That's awakening the spiritual element in man. That should make us open to spiritual instruction that can meet that universal need, which is, of course, the dialectic. So, obviously, the need is there. So, if any religion, excuse me, more juice. Excuse me. If any religion lacks understanding of the practices necessary for the soul's quest for union with the divine, the dialectic, then they should be open to absorbing from spiritual traditions what they themselves lack. And Dionysius gives us a road from Christian belief to Platonic thought, which includes Parmenides, which is the dialectic, which is the method. He established the need for a hierarchy of ideas, and in doing so, he placed for the central of ideas philosophy, didn't he? All right, bunch of ideas. Philosophy is central. By the way, philosophy is understanding hierarchies, because the hierarchical structure is part of the paradigm of reality, or the dialectic, or the logos. Dionysius disguised himself as if he were a founder of Christian metaphysics. Yeah, that's his role, founder of Christian metaphysics, and developed further the notion of a hierarchical order in his philosophy, like the one to oneness to the cosmos. And of course, the different levels or stages within, either in the unfolding or our journey in the return. So he advanced our philosophy. However, he belongs to the class of those who prefer to present their ideas in a disguised form, and in doing that, he offers an alternative to the understanding of the core beliefs of the old system. He uses the new while appearing loyal to the core beliefs, all while creating an alternative to the literal reading of the core belief. So that's where we are. So it appears loyal to the old or to the core beliefs, while creating an alternative to the literal reading of the. So let's update our seventh. Appearing loyal to the old, while I said advancing the new, but that's too basic. Let's update that. As the seventh category of how human beings respond to truth. Or another way of saying responding to truth is transition from belief to understanding, because understanding is how we apprehend truth. Or facilitate the usia, or knowing as well. We want both. Understanding is the method. That's our purpose. That's our stage of evolution. We either wake up to it, or we are suffering, or all hell breaks loose, as we read earlier. That was a lot of fun. Because Jesus said. Okay. Creating an alternative to the literal reading, while creating an alternative to the literal reading alternative to the literal reading of the core beliefs of those old core beliefs. So now we've been talking about old and new as a response to truth, but now we can incorporate the idea of belief as the old or the bad, and understanding, belief, understanding as new. So literally the stage of evolution we're at as a human species or an evolving species is this line here. Zoinks! That's the line we cross. From pathologos or materialism and belief into understanding. And of course, as we talked about earlier, hey, if this is the experience, if understanding facilitates our, whoop, that's too thick. That's what she said.
Just shut the fuck up forever. Just shut the fuck up. Just forever.
Come on, it wasn't that bad.
You have the brain of a child if you think that.
No, I
These
don't.
absolute dullards, borderline chimps, want to kiss a fox.
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave. You are crossing into new boundaries.
That's what I want to hear. That's the benefit of having it on a soundboard. I can change the so I don't worry. So, we talked about last time the idea that understanding, again, is used to purify the old, but, or midwifery and dream analysis, but also dream analysis and philosophy to turn our mind, or as Jesus said, awaken the eye of the soul and turn it around to the mind to facilitate the direct experience, or ousia. That's knowing. You know it because you're experiencing it. You are it. Contemplation, you join with it. You know it because you not feel it, but you are it. You're joining with it. But we pointed out, our friend in chat said, hey, by the way, if you go through that to that which is completely transcendent of qualities, you might have a horror or a shock at all qualities or bliss into the state of appearing apparently emptiness or nothingness, especially if you got some Buddhist beliefs in your back pocket. You might call it emptiness or something like that. Because it's not an object of knowing. You've just gone past the object of knowing. But there's still a logos. In other words, understanding also is beyond knowing. So while it's prior to knowing as what facilitates knowing, it's also beyond knowing because we can take with us the learning and nurture. Can't take your experience beyond experience, but you can take your learning with you. So we want to know what's that kind of instant understanding, or perfect logos, or ultimate logos. And then what's it like to know the self, not turn around and know the self through that kind of ousia, but instant. What's the instant knowing of the self? What's that like? What's that ousia like? So that our understanding facilitates both levels of spiritual development, the penultimate and the ultimate, and also is the art or skill, skill and art, skill in that you practice it, art in that it benefits, needed to solve our problems, all human problems. And we currently don't have what we need to solve problems, and we don't have what we need to fulfill our spiritual goals and our self goals. So therefore we can recognize it's the next stage in our evolution. Crossing this line from the fourth hypothesis to the third, the music or song of the Parmenides. So, isn't that neat? We know what we're supposed to do in terms of evolution. But you can, because it's what we need to do in terms of evolution, you can frame it in many ways. It's what we need to do to create a just world, to solve human problems, to end human suffering, to etc., etc., etc. It ticks all the boxes. It's a win. So, understanding, of course, involves understanding a hierarchy of ideas. Such a hierarchy as this. This is a hierarchy of cognitive development. Belief is less than understanding. And we talked about how understanding is before knowing, but also has a different kind of a role or another kind of logos beyond knowing. That's a hierarchy of cognitive development. And also there's different cognitive capacities that allow you to experience different dimensions of reality. So it's also a hierarchy of ontology, or dimensions, or what exists. Epistemology is a fancy word that means how you think. Ontology, a fancy word that means what is, or what levels of reality there are. So we need to nail down this hierarchy. But also metaphysics is understanding the hierarchy, or the terms, not just the terms, that's metaphysics, but also their arrangement. Is whole greater than parts? Is same and different greater than like and unlike? Is beauty beyond justice, or is justice above beauty? How are they connected? How are they related? What's the hierarchical ordering? And how can we look for it in everything we do? If it's the logos or paradigm, then you could find a hierarchical ordering in art, in music, in cooking, in painting, in how you relate, how you teach things. Everything that is an understandable system contains a hierarchical ordering of parts. If so, it's reflecting the logos, meaning by knowing the paradigm, we can look for it in everything we do, making the following of the logos, or the art of dialectic, an activity we can do at all times to reach the excellence of our most personally meaningful goals. And that's what we talked about as necessary. Without seeking your most personally meaningful goals, you won't have the motivation to develop this learning. You'll settle for mediocrity. It'll be a little bitch, to say it bluntly. But also, seeking your most personally meaningful goals with excellence involves mastering it, which means understanding it. But mastering it also means applying it to benefit. Mastery turns the skill into an art. Meaning, if you see the hierarchical structure within whatever it is you do, see how it reflects this hierarchical structure of the logos and different stages of being, but also this hierarchical ordering of how human beings respond to new understanding or learning, then you could use your hierarchical understanding of your skill artfully by connecting it to cognitive stages or stages of human development to use your art to benefit others. That's what real art is. We have a struggle with that in our modern world. People say there is no meaning of art because meaning of art would require meaning. Meaning is above the line that we are below. That's why, thumbs up. That's why people say, oh, art's a matter of personal belief. Or some people are strict dualists. There is no meaning to art. It's all nonsense. It's all phooey. I'm a curmudgeon. No. Art is a mastery of your skill, reflecting the logos paradigm of reality, that you can then match it to human souls, so you can match your skill to benefiting not you the artist but the subject, by not just making a painting but talking about it to someone interested, inspired by the harmony of the parts, the beauty and the simplicity of the art. So you can, using your art of the dialectic, match the ordering of your skill or discipline or art to what you recognize in the logos of the person, their language, their problems in the person, to marry the two together, to use your skill to benefit them. That's what art is. Meaning you have to know the hierarchical nature of the logos as the paradigm, so you can apply it to both your skill or your craft and to human souls. That's what makes art meaningful. That's why we care about art. That's why all art galleries better have the artist talking about their art. Ideally, one-on-one. Or with some people listening, because there'll be universal application, but specifically tailored to meet the individual needs. And some people do that. Some people, the best of us out there, the best people I've ever seen, are people who have a hobby or an art or a skill of doing something, solving problems, creating content of some kind. And they take time sometimes to specifically target it to an individual, to wake them up from their problem, or to move them to the next stage of their own development. So it's not a foreign concept. Some people are doing it. I don't know if they know they're doing it, but it's amazing to see. It's the best people. It takes courage to say, I'm going to pause champ here and address this person specifically. I'm going to talk about my music or my painting or my content or whatever it is I do in a way tailored to your words. Share your words. What are you seeing in the art? What are you seeing in the problem we're solving? Now I can, perhaps by listening to your words, logos, recognize either A, your level of vision and understanding, ousia and logos in the positive, and B, so that's the A and B button, your vision and your understanding in the positive sense, but also your X and Y button. What's your false belief and your negative language that's copying, language that's stagnant, language that's insulting, language that's cruel, language that puts yourself down or puts others down. And use or target my art specifically to help you out of your X and Y, false belief of self and reality and negative language, or perfect your actual A and B, your current highest vision, and put language on that, or go to the next stage, have a higher vision or a higher understanding. That's art. That's brilliant. That's the mastery of, that's the integration of our meaning of life, the mastery of the dialectic incorporated into what we do for fun. That's art. The only reason why we don't recognize that is because currently our society is below the line of meaning. We're in ignorance, belief and pathologos, ignorance. We need understanding to recognize that there is a paradigm, the logos. Because belief and materialism reject the logos. And only through understanding can you understand the meaning of art. So when people say, there is no meaning of art, no, what they're saying is, you don't have what you need for understanding the meaning of art. They're saying, I'm ignorant. I've never read a science book. Therefore, no one can understand science. I have never looked into magnets. Therefore, magnets are just magic. No. Those who say there is no such thing as art, or art's just whatever you make it to be, or art's nonsense, or art's whatever. No. You just haven't read the book. This is the book. We're reading the book together here. It's not that no one understands, there is no understanding of art. It's just that you haven't understood it. Because that would require recognizing the hierarchical structure of the logos, recognizing that it's a paradigm that is understandable and knowable. You don't just believe it, you experience it. And it's that paradigm of the logos that we're after that extends to all hierarchical structures, meaning your particular skill or craft or content, and the development of the soul. The development of the soul is what's meaningful to human beings and all life. The development of the soul and the purification of our blocks from that development is what benefits. Therefore, to understand art is to know the logos and to connect the two together. That's the movement from skill to art. Therefore, those are the stakes in what we're going to be reading next time. An ability to function with mastery and art in everything we do. So whatever we're doing, even if we're not reading, whatever skill we're doing, we can do it artfully, which is nothing other than seeking the logos and applying that logos through the dialectic to benefit, meaning, once again, one activity we can be doing at all times. That benefits you because it's a meditation you can focus on at all times, benefits the world because you can be one of the rare people benefiting people, but also benefits your reincarnation because we've been talking about reincarnation as playing out the suffering the kinds of injustices you have committed in your lifetime because of your pathologos, but this is the opposite. Your reincarnation, you'll probably be fantastic if you are one of the rare brilliant people out there doing this kind of a thing. Suffering the effects of benefit. That sounds great. And ideally mastering the dialectic so you can transcend the back and forth of wisdom and ignorance to gain the logos and ousia, the understanding and knowledge, knowing that you don't have to lose, knowing the self. And as Socrates says, meet him here, because that's where he is. He's escaped the cycle of reincarnation. He's up there with better human beings, spirits, and gods who've completed their journey, who are going to be guides and fellow travelers on a much different, greater adventure. What's that going to be like? Different than anything we've experienced. So those are the stakes. By understanding the hierarchical nature of reality. Now, Dionysius is applying it to the highest. He's applying it to metaphysics, which is again our soul's development and through reality. So it's reality and our development. That's metaphysics. So he's going to give us the logos expressed in the ultimate, and then we can apply it to everything we do at all times to develop mastery of the art, of the meaning of life, the dialectic, benefiting us and our loved ones in this world, and also in all of our subsequent reincarnations. That's the stakes of what we're going to be reading next. Wow! Wow. Quite a cliffhanger. Quite a teaser for tomorrow.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
So, exciting? I'm excited. I hope you're excited. And I hope to see you in the next one. Feel free to follow on Discord. If you want a copy of the PDF, there's a link below. And if you want to support the channel, it is a great help at the moment, and I appreciate it. There is a link for donations below. Exciting stuff, right? I think so. Right?
Hey man, wouldn't some kind of future where people have all their whatever basic needs met of shelter,
Yes.
all this crap, and they could do
Yes.
whatever the hell they want, wouldn't that be good? No,
Yes.
it wouldn't.
What?
Hey, you just blow in from Stupid Town?
What did you blow in from Stupid Town?
Fucking bitch, pussy ass fucker.
Oh my goodness. Give me a positive one.
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave. You are crossing into new boundaries.
Yes, me being silly on my soundboard is not being mentally unwell. It's me crossing into new boundaries.
These absolute dullards, borderline chimps, want to kiss a
wanna
fox.
kiss a fox, don't understand that. But you do. That's why you're the best. Speaking of being the best, you are the best if I see you next time. Bugger, I fouled that one up. Oh my god, I'm tired. I had a long night playing music tonight. Exciting. The hierarchy, the logos, for art, for mastery, for meditation, for our meaning and purpose in this life and beyond. Next time, I'll see you there.